So over the weekend, I've been playing around more with AI agents, trying to test out a few different things that could be interesting. So today I just thought I could share some of my findings. So what I wanted to set out to do was actually to try to put as much knowledge into one agent as I could. And I wanted to try out a few different things. So to test this, I wanted to kind of set up an agent that kind of fetches some Reddit posts on a very specific topic and try to have as much knowledge as possible behind that to give a good answer. So we're gonna see how this turned out. So the way I did is I set up kind of my Python code here to kind of fetch the post that has the keyword that we want to specialize in. And then we can kind of use the post title, right? And the content from this post to do kind of a search. So we kind of send a request here. We send a request to our vector database that is kind of loaded with information about the topic we picked. So in our case, it was the new models from OpenAI. And from this, we can kind of fetch related information from the post title. So basically RAG, right? We have a vector store set up here. And all of this knowledge gets kind of put back into as context into our prompt, right? And combining this RAG with some great examples. So this is kind of the format we want for this answer. And we have some rules we want to follow. And I kind of found out while following all of these steps, it could give a very good answer back to this post here, right? So I was pretty happy how it turned out. And some of my comments got some upvotes and people replied to them. I know this is a bit of a sketchy thing to do, answering a bit like a Python code, but it was just for experiment to see how we can kind of set this up. So in today's video, I just gonna walk you through how I kind of set this up, and we're gonna look at some examples of the answers we could get. So I think we're just gonna head over to Cursor and take a look at how I set this up and do a few examples. Okay, so I think I want to start by going through kind of the main agent here before I show you kind of how I gather information to kind of make our agent more, smarter, if you want to call it that. And of course, if you are going to try this out for yourself, please don't spam people with this. That was not my idea. My idea was to set up a framework that could automatically test different prompts to work on a bigger AI project that I have in mind. So basically for me, this was just an experiment to set this up, to try different things, to see what kind of answers we can get, what kind of information I wanted to include, what kind of prompts we could use. So basically, please don't use this for spam. I don't think that's gonna help anyone or bring any value to any community. So we are using Procore to actually operate the Reddit part of this. But that, yeah, it's not gonna be too interesting. But if you wanna dive deeper into that, you can see we set our client IDs here for the Reddit API, right? So it's pretty straightforward. But we want to focus on how we can kind of set this up to test out our bot. So I remove this so I can just delete that. So you can see we set a list of subreddits we want to search through. So I guess I put down OpenAI, programming, local llama, learn programming. And the keywords we are going to search for is only going to be in the specific domain that we want to set up our agent to have knowledge of. So this is very important because we only want to answer posts that kind of have some kind of relatance to O1, right? So I just put down the keywords O1, O1 model, O1 mini, O1 preview, because this agent is supposed to be hyper specific on one topic. That is the way I set it up. So we have some different arguments when we're going to generate a comment. We can take in the post title, post content, URL content, and image description, because I also wanted this agent to be able to understand images. And for that, we're going to use Claude 3.5 to download the image and just do a quick search on the image, or like a description of the image. We can also scrape URLs if it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes. So you can see I set up a couple of variables here that we are going to open context.text. This is going to be our examples. So I put down three, okay, this is a bit messy, but I put down 3 different example comments that is going to be kind of the style I want. So you can see we have the post title, we have the answer, and we have the comment or the post content or the comment that I think is a good answer for this. So I give this agent 3 different examples of what I think is a good structure and a good answer. So this is kind of the context that it's going to learn from, right? We could, of course, give many more examples here, so it gets like a multi-shot setup if you want that. We have some important rules the agent is supposed to follow. So the rules I set up, we can zoom in a bit. So always try to bring value to the post if possible. So this is our master rule. So we have always write in low case letters, never start with hey or hey all, always respond in a human way, without restating the post. I hate that when the agent kind of reads up the post again that is already been stated, right? This rule has to go, so let's fix this. This was an old rule I tested out, okay. Never use emojis, follow the examples, never restate the content, never use XML tags, never mention the username in the comments as it looks spammy. So just a few rules I've been testing out that we want our agent to follow, right? And if you go further down here, you can see we are running the run search agent. So this is how we actually fetch the content from the vector store, right? So we are actually running a vector store here that has an ID, and this is going to take a query. So the query is going to be the post title and the post content. So from this, we're going to list all the relevant content we find in the vector store on this query, and we're just going to return that. And we have a name for it. So this is the Reddit context training store, right? And to set up this store, I'm going to show you how you can do that later. But basically, we have an upload.pile that sets up information into this store. But let's continue down to our prompt here, because this is quite important, right? So what we do is I created some XML tags that has context. So here we're going to feed in our examples, right? We're going to feed in our rules, and we're going to feed in the relevant info. So relevant info is, of course, going to be the returned information from our vector database. And all of this is going to be context for our agent to give a good answer to the post. So we can go through the instructions I gave my agent here. So I'll write a comment in only lowercase to the Reddit post, use the same length and style as the example comments, provide a brief answer, so 3 to 8 sentences. I don't want it to be too long. So strictly adhere to the important rules. Answer or comment post in a human way, like steering clear of repeating the content in the post. Bring value and use the relevant information to enhance the response, to make it informative and contextually appropriate, to bring value to the instructions, to the discussion. So basically, this is how I set up my prompt. You can see there's no system message because we are using O1 preview for this. So unfortunately, again, we don't have any system messages yet for O1 preview. So we're only going to feed in our prompt here, right? But that's fine. It seems to work okay. It doesn't matter too much. And basically, this is the only thing we need to do. You can see we have some stuff here to download the images if the post contain an image. And we can actually use Claude 3.5 to describe this image if we wanted to actually get the context from the images on the Reddit post if we wanted to do that. And we have a load and save replied post because we don't want to spam the same post. So we actually store the ID of the post so we don't answer the same post twice. And other than that, here's the main. We have set some timing that we only answer a post every 30 to 60 minutes. Because this was not, it was just an experiment. I didn't want to spam anything. It was just to test out different stuff. And I just wanted to set it up to see how this worked. And I was pretty happy with the result, to be honest. But now I kind of want to show you how we can take some information and upload this to the vector store, because we want a lot of information about our specific topic before we actually test this out now. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to gather some secure documentation about OpenAI's O1 reasoning models, as they call it. So I'm going to go to the platform OpenAI, go to the documentation, and here I'm going to gather some information. So basically, it doesn't matter too much. So basically, I think we're just going to grab all of this. It doesn't matter too much what we grab here. So so let's just grab all of this. We can go back here. I have a free.txt. So this we're just gonna paste in all the information we find about O1 here. I'm gonna try to remove emojis if we have that. I don't really care too much about the structure. I know I could have spent maybe more time thinking about how we can structure this in a better way. But for now, I think we're just gonna grab as much as we find. I guess we could grab some of these introducing OpenAI-o1 preview, but I don't know. I think this covers it a bit better, so I think that's enough information for now about this. But I think I want to remove this example because I don't think this is going to help us give a good answer here. So I'm just going to remove this code here, but I think I might keep the yeah, I think the rest here is fine. So the next part is I want to find some more information, maybe some opinions about the O1 model, right? So I also wanted to include my thoughts on the O1 model. So here you can just, I put down everything I have been experimenting so far with it. Has performed great for tasks that has a lot of instructions to follow for me. I really like the 64K output window, useful for code generation. For my experience, O1 Preview has performed best on code generation tasks, even though the O1 Mini was promoted as the better model. That's just my experience, so I like to add that into the vector storage. I also searched up some other people in the space that has very good, what I think has good takes on stuff and is very on point. So Simon Willison, I think he has very good notes on the OpenAI's new chain of thought model. So maybe we can borrow some insights from him on this model to not get only my bias, right? So this is the way I've been trying to gather as much information as possible on a very specific niche. So let me grab some more information. I'm going to show you how I kind of use the upload feature here. And I kind of also think it's important to kind of grab the pricing. That is what some people might be interested in knowing. So let's feed in the pricing here. We can do that down here, right? That should be fine. And yeah, I think that's enough for this example, right? So now we can just, if we go to our upload agent, so you can see this just takes any file and we can just do Python upload, and you can see we have selected our text file here, free.txt. So this is what we're going to upload. And yeah, basically we're using the assistant API that has the file store here to upload this to the Reddit context training store. And yeah, shouldn't take too long. Okay, that looks great. So we uploaded one file, great, and that should be it. So now this is ready to use, and I think we are actually ready now to start testing this out and see if we can, yeah, make a good comment. Okay, so I kind of brought up my Reddit page here, so you can see one of the comments I tested this weekend was this post. So socialist won't stop my bumper bonus, says Wizz Air boss. And the comment was, when your bonus plane takes off more than your planes. And this got 22 upvotes. So that was pretty funny. I kind of set up a different agent for this experiment. But it seems to be working pretty good. Some of my comments got upvotes here. So yeah, just a fun experiment thinking about these agents. But now let's try it out with the one we set up now. So basically all we have to do now is just go Python, what did we call it? O1 agent.py, right? Okay, so you can see now we are searching the OpenAI subreddit and we are looking for keywords that kind of contains O1, O1 preview, O1 mini, right? So let's just see if we can, yeah, make a response here. Okay, so you can see how long have you been able to make O1 preview things. So this is not a good example of how we're going to use this because this question doesn't really have an answer. But just let us see now what actually, let's see what the agent respond here. It's probably going to be some nonsense, isn't it? So you can see the relevant information we found for this query was like, the inconstant training involves emphasizing large-scale models, right? We have one return here, one chunk. The O1 preview models allow for deep reasoning, 128k tokens. And you can see here the Reddit query, how long I've been able to make O1 preview thing could be addressed by understanding how these models are designed to operate under prolonged reasoning iterations. Such queries align with the capabilities of the O1 model to handle complex multi-step reasoning task. Okay, with processing time, right? And we also have relevant information found for the post content. So this is going to be, it seems like after the 20-second mark, if a prompt is too complex, it will just hallucinate and lose a lot of accuracy. Or am I doing something wrong? That is kind of the question, right? And here we kind of bring up some information. It's recommended to keep the prompt simple and direct. Avoid using chain of thought prompts. When providing additional content or documents, include the most relevant informations. The model are designed to spend more time thinking before they respond. Beneficial for complex prompts. So we are bringing actually in some content here. And here you can see the answer we gave, right? I think we're just going to go over to the post here. So if we look at the post, how long have we been able to make it think? And we have the question here. So the agent responded with, I've run into this issue too. O1 Preview seems to handle shorter, more direct prompts better. Maybe trying to simplifying your prompts and focus on the most relevant info. Also, avoiding step-by-step instruction might help, since the model does its own reasoning internally. Hope that helps. It's okay. It's not a bad comment. Is it helpful? Maybe. I think it gives some instructions here, like avoiding step-by-step instructions, since the model does its own reasoning. That is somewhat helpful, I think. It's not a horrible comment. I think it's okay. And it is interesting. It is actually doing what we want it to do. We feed in the question, we feed in the title, and we get from the vector store, we use the examples we gave it, and we try to follow the rules. You can see it only responded in lowercase, and it keep the... It's not too long, our response is like 3 to 6 sentences. So I think it did a pretty good job here. Let's see if we can do one more. Okay, so you can see here we have our response here. I kind of want to go through this, but I'm not going to spend too much time looking at what it did actually fetch here. But it did fetch some content from the post content. So if we just go to the post, it's a pretty long read, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But basically, the title is, it's not O1, it's just chain of thought. So he kind of states that it all started with Reflection 70B before the real O1, back when we got that Reflection 70B model that claimed to be strawberry, or yeah, I couldn't really remember this case here. But this is trying to kind of motivate the open source community to keep working on chain of thought to kind of replicate. So if you're not still convinced that O1 is just call off a chain of thought, take a look at the official raw hidden reasoning chains from the OpenAI blog. So I'm just not going to focus too much on the post here. I'm just going to read our comment we made to this post, and you can probably go and look at it yourself. So the response was, I agree that O1's hidden reasoning chains go beyond classic chain of thought methods. The use of internal reasoning token really boosts its ability to handle complex tasks. It's tough for the open source community to replicate that with the access to the same reinforcement learning techniques and datasets. Maybe we need to explore new RL methods to come closer to what OpenAI is truly doing to truly advance open models' reasoning abilities. It's not a bad answer. It's fine. Is it helpful? That is kind of the issue here. I don't know. It's an okay comment. It's not bad. Yeah, I think it's fine. Doesn't add too much value, but it doesn't add zero value. It's kind of interesting to see. So I'm pretty happy with the two comments we made here, to be honest. It doesn't say anything that's hallucinated or directly wrong. So I think it's pretty okay. So my experience so far is that this is a good experiment to try to learn more about specialized agents, to see actually how this could be a part of a bigger picture in a project I'm working on that's going to be much bigger than this. That I'm not going to reveal yet, but it's going to be soon. Let's just run it one more time and see if we can get one more answer. I hope we could get some more posts here, but let's see now. So you can see the relevant information. The query is misconceptions about GPT-o1 and it relates to Claude's abilities, okay? So you can see here we are also grabbing the post here, right? As context. It's a pretty long post. So this is also going to be the context, right? But let's see now if we can get a response here. Okay, so we got the reply here. I want to go to Reddit. So basically what this post says is that there's nothing a user can do to replicate the behavior by simply using prompting, since the O1 models are kind of trained on reasoning chains from the training part, right? So let's see what our comment here was. Okay, yeah, so I think this is a good sample of something I have been experiencing this weekend too. So thanks for clarifying this. I didn't realize the GPT-o1, so you can see we are restating the post. Internal reasoning process was so different. The idea of exploring a tree of thoughts internally is pretty cool. I guess that's why it sells a complex task. And it's interesting that we can't replicate this behavior by just prompting. So I don't know why it has to kind of take on the role as one of the guys or users that misunderstood what O1 is, even though we kind of fed all the information about what O1 is. There was no reason for it to kind of go down to this level just to please the user who posted this. So that is something I can't really, it doesn't really fight back. It always tried to please the user, right? And that's why I don't think it's a good fit for answering Reddit posts, because it's always agreeing with the original poster. It doesn't really fight back. It's just gonna, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. It's always gonna please the one that did the post. So it's very strange. I haven't really seen any fight back and disagreement from the model. But again, it has to be said that I haven't really prompted it to disagree, but still, it is an interesting observation, I think. So yeah, I think this was a great example of the issues I've been seeing this weekend too, with using this kind of agent for this kind of use case. I don't think it's gonna work, to be honest. It has to be a different format if we're gonna use this agent. So I'm definitely gonna take this experience with me when I'm moving on to my bigger AI agent project. Just to wrap this up, I just want to bring my final thoughts here. So yeah, I think my experiments were pretty successful. I was pretty impressed by the O1 model here in this case, because some comments were pretty bad, but mostly the issue was the context. So some posts did not bring enough context to actually make it possible to give a good answer. It was either an image that didn't get downloaded and described, and it was a URL that didn't get fetched. So maybe Reddit was not the perfect place to test out these agents, but I got some good responses, as we probably saw in this video. And VectorDB performed pretty good. I'll show there more optimization we can do there too. The examples, yeah, I think it followed that very good, and the rules. So I was pretty happy with O1 following the instruction I gave it. I think it did a very good job on that, to be honest. And yeah, overall a pretty successful experiment for me, and it's gonna be interesting to take the experiments over to a more advanced project, like I said, that I have in mind in the future. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Maybe you learned something. And again, don't use this for spam if you're gonna copy this. That's just annoying, and yeah, please don't do that. But maybe I hope you learned something, hope you gave us some ideas, and I think I'm going to upload this to my community GitHub if you're interested in the code. We'll see what people want. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, have a great day, and we speak again soon.